Part 2 of What is a Stanley by Neck of the Woods. So I just came out of the gym, ate a meal. Now I'm ready to do this video. I'm going to talk about the requirements to be a Stanley, according to me. A Stanley is a Black American male that's, again, usually over the age of 40 and up. You find most of them in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. I refer to these as African American men because you have a lot of black foreigners who immigrate to this country. And of course, you know, a lot of them are in the same age range, you know, like in their 50s or 60s or 70s. You know, everyone gets older. And these guys, I would say for the most part, don't have Stanley characteristics. Mainly because, well, they have a different culture, different background. They think a certain way. They're very different from the Black American men who are in that age range. The only way someone who's a black foreigner male could become a Stanley is if he's been in this country, I would say, for 20 years or more, and pretty much has just deep into American culture, because a lot of people overseas do admire us, whether they want to admit it or not, and a lot of them really want to be like us, actually. So, you know, you have that, and then they do like all these typical American style type of things that usually older American black guys will do. You know, basically they're trying so hard to assimilate into the Black American culture. So they would be Stanleys, because then they would take on some of those characteristics. But 95 to 99% of the Stanleys, that when I call them Stanleys, those dudes are born and raised somewhere in the United States of America. Also, depending on the region of the country you're in, it's also age dependent. Like, for example, if you're like down south, let's say Tennessee, for example, you have a black man who's 32 years old. 32. He could very well be a Stanley, because the mentality that down south people have, generally speaking, like I said, it's so obsolete and absurd and ass backwards. Someone who's 32 years old would say that they are old. They think of themselves as old. So by itself, you're basically limiting yourself, and you're very closed-minded. Stanleys are very closed-minded. But then you're so limited in your own belief, you make yourself a Stanley. Being a Stanley is actually a state of mind. It's not really just about, oh, you're 60-something years old and you're a black man. Although that's usually a strong indicator of you being a Stanley. But just because you are 60-something and you're a black man, you don't have to be a Stanley. The only way that happens is if you, again, don't limit yourself. You don't limit your thinking. You're not closed-minded. You're respectful toward the younger generation. You're open to new things and learn new things about what's going on in the world. You're not just straight up caught up in your own thoughts and the way you think, and you just can never change your mind or be flexible, then you have a chance of not being a Stanley. But if I see you and I don't know you off top, and I see you got some gray hair and you're an older black man who apparently is from America, then I'm off top. I'm, oh, look at that Stanley. Now, I don't know you, but chances are you are a Stanley until you prove me wrong. And I've been proven wrong just a few times. But most of the time, if you're an older black man who's American, you are a Stanley. That's my definition of what a Stanley is. The spokesperson of what a Stanley, like here's some examples of a Stanley. The spokesman of Stanleyism. Steve Harvey. Yeah, I'm sure you heard of him. Ultimate Stanley. I can't stand that nigga. Steve Harvey is a Stanley. He goes around. He fits the requirements of a Stanley. He's 50 something, maybe even 60. I don't know. He's old enough. He's American. He's from Cleveland, so that's in America. And he's gone around telling you to do all this fucking Stanley bullshit. He's a Stanley. Who else is a Stanley? T.D. Jakes is a Stanley. You know, Stanleys are fools. But but what they try to do, even though they're fools, they try to make a fool of you. They try to do that with other black men. And they really especially try to do it if you're a younger black man. Because they're all about trying to impress the bitches. Again, Stanleys are simps. A lot of them are. They put women on pedestals because they want to get the pussy. They're so thirsty and desperate about it. They're just pathetic. So that's what a Stanley is. I'm trying to think of more examples. Keep in mind, this word that I coined, I think I started using this phrase about 9 years ago. Yeah, I started saying this about 9 years ago. People probably thought, oh, that's stupid. What a Stanley. Well, hey, it's not my fault you don't get it. When things are ridiculous to me, I just attach a name to it because it's beyond ridiculous. So it's so beyond ridiculous, I have to create a word to describe and define. And just basically, it's a type of ridiculousness. There you have Stanley. Yeah, we've seen Stanleys in public. We know Stanleys. We're related to them. Our uncles, our dads are Stanleys. That older dude you come across in the neighborhood, he's a Stanley. You know. That's why I work on myself, because I don't want to be no Stanley. Being a Stanley is ridiculous. A Stanley got like a beer belly. They got a gut. They look stupid. They look dumb, retarded. And I got to give Stanleys credit though. A lot of Stanleys are kind of successful. They're not like extremely successful. There's different varying levels of success that they achieve in life. But a lot of Stanleys, they work on these jobs They work good jobs. They usually work government jobs. A lot of Stanleys, you usually find them to be they were the black men who went into the military, made a career out of it, or they was in the military at some point. They got out and then they just got another government job. They work as postmen, at the post office, UPS, FedEx. They work these government jobs. A lot of them are bus drivers. A lot of Stanleys are blue-collar men. Now, I'm not denigrating any of these professions I'm naming, because I mean, even though I'm educated, I'm also learning how to be mostly blue-collar. The men in my family are blue-collar type men. They know, they have skills. They know how to do things. So there's nothing wrong with being a blue-collar man. I'm not denigrating that. I'm just telling you where you can find a Stanley, what kind of job Stanleys usually do. These are the people, yeah, those are Stanleys. They work these jobs. They make decent money. They work a step, and then you got Stanley. You'll find some Stanleys who work in the factory or manufacturing plant. Again, I'm not denigrating any of that. I would do those jobs that I'm naming, and I sure as hell not trying to be no Stanley. But the point is, Stanleys make good money. Some of them do. A good portion of the Stanley population make good money. And then what they do? They go out and trick it off. They trick off their money. They find them like a woman that's attractive. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But the point is, they put that woman on a pedestal, and they just they basically go broke trying to impress this woman that they feel. See, Stanleys don't have any game. Again, they think they have game. Steve Harvey thinks he has game, and he has a game. At least he's making money off of telling women bullshit that's just lies. Same thing with TD Jakes. But those are the Stanley All-Stars. I'm talking about regular black men who aren't all-stars, who aren't rich and famous. Those guys, they listen to what TD Jakes say. A lot of Stanleys are Christian men, religious men. So they believe in listening to TD Jakes. And then they agree with what Steve Harvey says, and they parrot and repeat the same bullshit that Steve Harvey tells people. And like, yep, you youngin', you better do that. That's real game right there. So being a lame ass trick simp is real game, right? I disagree with that. So that's a Stanley. A Stanley would be like, oh, back in my day, it doesn't matter what the fuck they say after that. But if they start off the sentence, back in my day, that motherfucker just identified himself as a Stanley. Very ridiculous. I'm a historian. I'm a history buff. So I do want to hear about what went on back then, but don't act like that's just the end all be all. Sometimes we don't give a fuck and we don't give a damn what happened in your day. We're not living in your day, asshole. We're living in 2017. We're living in this day, not your day. That's all I want to say on that matter. Neck of the woods, I'm out.